Alright, let's check out what's going on with Solana since our video yesterday. So today I'm going to be trading based on momentum indicators because I believe that these will have a lot more value than simply looking at the RSI and the MFI, which most of the time are kind of baked into the analysis anyway. Now the main reason why I'm looking at the momentum indicators is because we're having a big momentum shift to the downside, and specifically on Bitcoin, the EMA ribbons, we are heading back down into the bottom of the daily EMA ribbons. Now I'm going to be doing most of my analysis today based on the EMA ribbons and the squeeze mom, which if you haven't heard of before, it is the squeeze momentum indicator, and it is, in my opinion, a really good indicator to look at where the momentum is heading in the market. Now I do check on these from day to day, but I've never covered either of these on my channel because I haven't believed that then was the right time, because when we were down here we were kind of just chopping around in the EMA, so I didn't really feel much of a need to talk about it. But if we come over to the daily and what's happening now, you can see a couple of days ago the daily EMA indicators, they fired along as the short-term moving average headed above the long-term moving average, and this is what causes a green flip on the EMA ribbons. Now you can currently see we're still quite a bit above the short-term moving average on the daily EMA indicator. So in my opinion, I do believe that Solana is going to bottom around about 112, and that is, while this is completely backed up with technical analysis, if we draw our fib from the low to the high, you can see our number one key area of support, our golden pocket, is this 618 Fibonacci at the 112. So while I do think that we are going to bottom anywhere between the bottom of this EMA ribbon, that is the wrong indicator, or the wrong tool, while I do believe we're going to bottom around this 618 Fibonacci, but to the bottom of this EMA ribbon, which is a move around about 112 and 106. This is really more of a gut feeling than it is analysis, and the reason why I have a strong gut feeling that Solana is going to bottom around between 112 and 106 is not mainly because we've got a 618 Fibonacci here. Well, this is obviously where we get our targets from, and it is not the reason why we have the 106 down here with the bottom of the EMA ribbon. It is simply because the momentum to the upside on Solana is still very much intact, and I do believe this triple bottom that we talked about is going to play out where, well, it is already starting to play out, where we had this triple bottom before for Solana, and we initiated a massive bull run. And as I highlighted in the last few videos, we went to the side for maybe 5 to 6 days, and you can kind of see we pretty much perfectly, if I move this out of the way so you can't see this anymore, we pretty much perfectly backtested the EMA ribbons. I mean, we didn't necessarily even come down and touch them, so we may not even come into these EMA ribbons. Me saying that I think it's going to come down between 112 and 106 may just be kind of my subconscious, because I do want Solana to come down here, because I do plan on accumulating more Solana if we do come down to these regions. Nonetheless, if we look at what's going on in the daily, you can see we've broken this very basic trend line to the upside, and we have started to head down. Now I'm really not too worried about what's happening on Solana right now, but I do think we should be prepared for the chance of one quick flush out and potentially even a quick fake out before we do reverse the momentum back to the upside. And the reason for that is, if we come over to Bitcoin, not only do we have key areas of support down the bottom here around about 43,000, we've also got a key area of interest at 42,500. And I do believe, while I'm not 100% sure on this, I do believe it is possible that Bitcoin could have a very short-lived fake out to 40,000 just one last time, which would still be a higher low from here and down here. So we'd still be setting up a higher low trajectory on Bitcoin. So while Bitcoin is macro bullish, while I believe Solana's macro bullish and the markets are macro bullish, if we come over to the 4-hourly on Bitcoin, and obviously this is a Solana video, but I like to tie in all these cryptos together because Solana follows Bitcoin, Bitcoin follows the stock market, which is also crashing, and the stock market follows the dollar, or it doesn't, it's negatively correlated to the dollar, meaning the dollar is pumping, causing the stock market to dump, causing the total crypto market cap to dump, causing Bitcoin to dump. I mean, these are all heavily intertwined with each other, and you could argue that Bitcoin is causing the total crypto market cap to dump, and either way, I mean, I'd agree with that. I actually think, yeah, now thinking about it, Bitcoin is obviously bringing the rest of the market down, so it's really Bitcoin bringing down the total market cap because the altcoins are following it. But nonetheless, if we look at the 4 hourly on Bitcoin quickly before we jump back into Solana, you can see the EMA ribbons have fired a short, and the squeeze momentum indicators heading to the downside with lots and lots of selling volume. So I do think it is very likely we need to prepare for a quick flush out, whether that is potentially down to 42,500, or whether it is down to the key area of interest down here, which is a 10% dump. So really not too much to worry about, considering we were down here at 37,000 a couple of weeks ago, and people could be panicking when we're coming down to 40,000. So for Bitcoin specifically, I think we could have one quick flush out coming before the market does reverse macro bullish to the upside, or should I say micro bullish, because the market is already macro bullish in my opinion. Nonetheless, Solana is still miles above the EMA ribbons, and we're still firing along. So I think for many reasons Solana is bullish on the macro time frames, and we haven't even switched bearish on the 4 hourly EMA ribbons, although I do believe we are soon to be flipping bearish because as you can see here, our short-term moving average is this line right here, and this is going to head down a lot faster than our long-term moving average down here, which is probably just going to stagnate. So I imagine, where is this? This is about 8 a.m. So this could be by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning for me specifically, obviously if you're in a different country, obviously I've checked my analytics, and I've got followers all over the world, so it's pretty crazy. I've got followers in Beijing, Japan, China, well, Beijing is China, I think, but India, USA, UK. So I mean, there's followers all over the world. So this is really going to depend on your own time zone. But within the next 12 hours or so, I do think the EMAs on the 4 hourly could be switching to the downside. So the 4 hourly squeeze mob is already very, very oversold. So it may not potentially happen by tomorrow morning. We could potentially be seeing a dead cat bounce or a rally, potentially even up to the short-term moving average up at 227, before we do quickly roll back down to anywhere between 112 and 106. So that is really my gut feeling on Solana. I think this is a short-term move to the downside before we do start picking momentum back to the upside. Now, I really don't put too much weight on the moving averages on the Sol BTC pair because I really do think it, depends on, what Bitcoin and Solana is doing specifically. I mean, I really don't want to focus too much on, analyzing these based on that. But nonetheless, the Sol BTC pair is still extremely bullish. We knew that this 200-day moving average was going to be a very strong area of resistance for Solana because, apart from this 200-day moving average, we really have nothing in the way of Solana coming up and taking out the highs against Bitcoin, in my opinion at least. So this is going to be a strong area of resistance. We may be in the dumps for a couple of weeks or a month before we do enter what I believe is going to be Solana summer, where Solana is going to pop off in the summer and outperform a lot of altcoins and Bitcoin specifically. But you can see on the daily squeeze mob we have a lot of room to move to the downside. So like I said, we could potentially be seeing one quick flush out on the Sol BTC and the Sol USD pair, but like I said, I do believe the bottom is going to be round about 106. Specifically, if we're putting in daily and weekly closes around 106, I wouldn't be worried. We may potentially come down and break below 106 very temporarily, but I really don't see it being a long-lived scenario because I am of the opinion that this triple bottom is going to play out. I think we've got such clear telltale signs that Solana is macro bullish, and I think this is really the bottom for Solana. So I don't think we're ever going to return to $80 for Solana. I don't think we're ever going to return to this triple bottom region. And also on the daily EMAs, I am not necessarily convinced that we're even going to flip these to the downside. So all in all, I'm really not worried about what's going on with Solana. I'm actually hoping we come down to between 112 and 106 because I'm going to ladder my buys in around these regions. But you can see the selling volume right now. Volume predicts price. I do think we are going to come down to somewhere round about here. It doesn't necessarily have to be today or tomorrow. Like I said, if we come over to the 4 hourly, we could see a quick dead cat bounce before we do head down to these regions. So that's really all I see for Solana. Best of luck if you're in it, best of luck if you're in a trade. Once again, none of this is financial advice, just my own opinion on the market, and you've always got to do what's best for you. Cowboy out. Peace.